What's up guys, I'm Phoenix Master 1 and welcome to another Resplendent review. Today I'm going to be taking a look at Resplendent Dimitri and I'm going to be going over the builds that you could run on him in the modern times. And at the end, I'll have a special bonus segment. So Dimitri is a Lance Cavalier and he's a book 3 unit, and he did get a weapon refine last year to his Noble Lance, so it doesn't really have minus on special cooldown like Edelgard. Instead, he has got plus 3 attack, and at start of combat, if his HP is not at full, or if the foe's HP is at or above 75%, then he's going to be getting plus 4 to all of his stats in the combat, and he also gets the guaranteed follow-up attack. So this is not much for a base effect, and guaranteed follow-up attack does help him, but there's a lot of null follow-up going around, so it's not necessarily going to be ensuring a double all the time. And then for his weapon refinery part, it is always going to be active in the player phase, and in the enemy phase, it needs the enemy to be at or above 75% HP, and he's going to be getting another round of plus 4 to all of his stats. He also gets a bit of true damage based on 10% of his attack, which is not really much, but still it does help. And then just like other Dimitri's, he also gets a bit of flat damage reduction, and that is also going to be 10% of his attack. And then finally, he has got 50% damage reduction piercing, which is definitely the most useful thing out of this refine in my opinion, because he's not really able to run no quarter and trigger it consistently, even with a modern skill like Momentum, because he doesn't have minus on special cooldown, and you're probably going to be running Emblem Sigurd over Emblem Marth on him. So having this kind of passive damage reduction piercing is quite helpful. Unfortunately, his true damage and flat damage reduction is not really up to the mark, and it's kind of low by the modern standards. Having said that, Edelgard of course won because she has got Gale Force built in her weapon, and you still see her even after the release of Brave Felix, Emblem Sigurd, Bridal Serena, and a lot of these extra action units. So having the AoE specials and the extra action is amazing on Edelgard. And Claude, despite having more effects in his weapon refine, I wouldn't really say that he's necessarily better than Dimitri, because the bar for a ranged nuke is a lot higher, and ranged cavalry units simply don't have a lot of good options. Compared to that, Dimitri at least has Emblem Sigurd going for him, and there's also Momentum now. It's not like you're going to be using any kind of arcane weapon on him, because this is still miles better than Arcane Xiang, which is also one of the options, and he definitely does not want to run Arcane Lewin because he doesn't really have these stats for it. So at least you're able to get some true damage and flat damage reduction, and you can do your best to stack this up and at least do a bit extra damage. And we have gotten some nice skills that you could definitely try and run him with, and if you're going to be foddering him, then he does come with Death Blow 4 and Lull Attack Defense, which is much better than at least like 90% of the Resplendent units that we're going to be getting. So Death Blow 4 is definitely one of the worst tier 4 skills, but I guess it could work on a budget, and Lull Attack Defense could also be decent as we don't really have it in the Grail pool. As for his stat spread, his attack is definitely workable. It's not like you cannot stack that up. So now he has got 38 base attack. Unfortunately, he doesn't really have a super boon to any of his useful stats, which is a bit of a shame, and he also has decent defense, so that could also be run and stacked for some of these skills, as you'll see in a moment. And we could try and compare Resplendent Dimitri to some of the recent Lance Cavaliers. So we've got Kyle here, who's going to be having similar stat allocation to Dimitri. Of course, he doesn't have Noble Lance, and Arcane Xiang is going to be worse than Noble Lance, but still, you can see that he's going to be having a bit more attack than Dimitri. And then if you really want to use a Lance Cavalier who's not fast, then Emblem Sigurd is pretty hard to beat with his override. Of course, this is an insane comparison, but this just goes to show you the crazy disparity between their power. And of course, if you're a big Dimitri fan, then you could try and build him up. He's going to be taking 30 Dragon Flowers, which is quite a lot, but at least it's not Infantry Dragon Flowers, and I wish that Dimitri allocated some of his HP and speed, which is kind of unnecessary, into his attack, so he would have been able to hit much harder. So if you want to invest in him, then Attack Ivy is definitely the best Ivy you could pick. Not only it helps you do more damage, but it also scales the true damage and flat damage reduction in his weapon refine, and you could try and run Glimmer as his special. Again, no quarter is not really all that easy for him to trigger without Emblem Marth, so Glimmer, in my opinion, is the better special that you could try and run. Moonbow could also be an option, but I do prefer Glimmer on him. and Emblem Secret is going to be his best emblem ring, giving him the +1 movement and also giving him flat counter 3. So it means that you don't really need to run a Near Trace or an Alarm skill, and he also gets extra mobility, which is going to be useful as a 4-movement Cavalier, and it does synergize with a lot of the cavalry exclusive skills. So for this Lottie, you could try and run Attack Defense Catch, or you could also get Attack Defense Clash 4, and we have got Rearmed Lift a trillion times on many of the banners. So if you have a copy of him, then you could simply give him Attack Defense Clash 4 and Attack Defense Menace at the same time, and that's at least going to be a decent build that you could try and have for this kind of medium invest. His slot B skill is useful even at this investment, and you already get Kanto out of Emblem Sigurd, so little attack defense can definitely work out, and you can just run the double clash skill, but the natural progression of his slot A skill is gonna be with Attack Defense XL. So you could try and run that, and Reopening can also be an interesting option on him because it provides him with a little bit of true damage and also flat damage reduction, but instead of using his attack, it uses his defense, and that is also not that bad. So he could try and stack up both his attack and defense and then combine the true damage and flat damage reduction out of his Noble Lance and Reopening. And he does have guaranteed follow-up attack, so he's not always going to be able to make the full use out of Reopening scaling, but still it's one of the decent options. And I guess if you don't have it, then you could try and run Gambit with Ether or Miracle, but I vastly prefer having a lower cooldown special with Reopening and getting the flat damage reduction instead. And you do get a bit less true damage with Reopening, but still, overall I think that it does benefit him. And you could also get Breath of Life 4 at the same time with Brave Alphonse, and Dimitri's defense is going to be stacked up at this kind of investment, so it can be helpful, and you can also provide some healing to your allies, but you could always run Panic Smoke 4 or even Fatal Smoke 4 if you want to. Any of those skills can work out, and even Defense Res Smoke 3 can work out, so all of those are going to be his slot C options, and Attack Defense XL is going to be the best slot A skill that you could run on him because it gives him the flat damage reduction, and that along with the flat damage reduction of his weapon and Reopening does make him a bit more bulky, so it definitely helps him quite a lot. Attack Defense XL is a bit expensive, but it's totally worth it if you're going to be investing in him at this kind of level. But if you don't have it, again, Attack Defense Clash 4 can work out, and it can give you the attack and defense debuff neutralization. At absolute max investment, you could try and make use of the fodder of Emblem Sigurd and run Momentum on him, so this gives him the special jumping and 20 true damage, which is amazing for improving his damage output along with the true damage of Noble Lance. So the special jumping is going to be making you trigger Glimmer instantly, and again, he cannot run No Quarter unfortunately or Bonfire because of not having a -1 special cooldown weapon, so Momentum could be run with a 2 cooldown special like Glimmer, and then you could also make use of Shadow Shift 4, which is going to be enabling you to reposition an ally in your Kanto, and you're always going to be running him with Emblem Sigurd Ring, so Shadow Shift has really good synergy with that, and it also gives him the healing and the extra stats, so it also helps him in the combat. And Cavaliers unfortunately don't have much of an option when it comes to their attune skills. There are only 3 skills: Dead Blow Echo, Wings of Mercy Echo, and Guard Echo. So you could run Guard Echo if you absolutely want to give him some kind of attune skill, so he's going to be able to get the guard effect and some damage reduction, which does help with all of the flat damage reduction that he gets. So it doesn't get better for Dimitri as of right now if you're the biggest fan of him, and you could stack up a lot of extra damage output with Emblem Sigurd with his weapon, and of course Momentum, which is one of the best skills for any kind of Cavalier. Even though Dimitri got a weapon refine last year, I think the standards for a weapon refine for a 5-star premium unit has changed drastically from that time. So if I had to make his weapon refine better, this is what I would do. I would definitely change the weapon refine icon so that it's a bit less generic, and I would just give him the icon of his personal skill, and then I would make a bit of a change to the extra stats that he gets. So now units get plus 10 to all of their stats in the combat with any kind of weapon refine. So I would do that for him, and then I would also give him the special cooldown -X jump before his first attack. So Dimitri doesn't have a -1 special cooldown weapon, and similar to Winter Dimitri, he's going to be able to get the special jumping based on the distance traveled by whoever initiated. So he could get max 2 jump out of this, and that is going to be stacking up with Momentum, So he's going to be able to easily use something like Ignis or even No Quarter if you really want to. And then you'll have a bit of extra special jump, which could help you against these Scal effects. So I would definitely try and give this to him to make him a bit more unique compared to a lot of the other Lance Cavaliers. And this is a bit of a modern effect. And then for his refinery part, I'm going to be giving him another round of +5 to all of his stats. I'm going to be tweaking the true damage and his flat damage reduction to 20% because even at that time, 10% was really low. It could have been at least 15%, but 20% is something that he should be having as a 5-star premium unit. I'm going to be keeping the 50% damage reduction piercing, and then I'm going to be giving him the Omni Smoke effect, just like Legendary Dimitri and just like Winter Dimitri. So this is a special thing that you could have in his weapon refine that kind of serves as his identity. Like Edelgard has got the Gale Force, Claude also has the debuffs and such, and the bonus doubler and penalty doubler for the defense and attack. So I think this would have been a lot more useful. So this way he doesn't have to run Panic Smoke in his slot C, and he could just debuff the stats of the enemies and also panic them in 2 spaces. So it doesn't really have the 3-space range like the upgraded Atrocity or Winter Dimitri, but still nonetheless, this is going to be helping him a ton. So let me know what you think about this in the comment section down below. I want to thank all of my YouTube members for their constant support, and you can click the link on Instagram right now to check out my breakdown of this month's weapon refines, and make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell because YouTube set boxes are about as functional as Dimitri's Dead Below 4 in 2024. So with that said, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.